establish the first Earth Day on, hold on one second. Okay, let me just got it. He established the first Earth Day on April 22nd, 1970, to bring light to the issue of the environmental responsibility and transforming the public attitude. Gaylord organized a teach-in on college campuses along with Congressman Pete McCloskey and activist Dennis Hayes. The group chose April 22nd, a weekday falling between spring break and final exams, to maximize the greatest student participation. Of that first day, Nelson wrote in an article for the April 1980 issue of the EPA Journal, "It was on that day that Americans made it clear that they understood and were deeply concerned over the deterioration of our environment and the mindless dissipation of our resources." Earth Day was the push the nation needed, and not long after, Congress passed major initiatives that would become the foundation of the nation's environmental laws, including the National Environmental Education Act, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, and the Endangered Species Act. Beginning in 1990, Earth Day went global, and according to its organization, earthday.org, the day mobilized more than 200 million people in, it has a certain amount of countries, but it's not in here, countries, to bring the fight for the environment to the global stage. In 1992, the United Nations hosted an Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, and in 1995, Nelson would receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his role in as the founder of Earth Day. Earth Day continues to grow and be celebrated, and it celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2020. So interesting, the year of COVID, with more than 100 million people taking an action. And it says, what can I do to help environment? And it says, become a papertarian. Papertarians choose and use paper products and packaging because they know it is a smart choice for the environment. The paper and packaging industry is taking strides to support a healthy future for our planet through sustainable practices and making products from renewable resources and not fossil fuels. So it says recycle paper. Paper packaging and cardboard boxes are widely accepted for recycling across the country. So that's the whole history that I have. It's interesting that they're saying paper because we seem to think that using paper is cutting down trees. So I guess it's a tough thing to make a choice as to what we should be using for our packaging. You could go, I don't know. I don't know if there's going back to the old ways. I remember my mother telling me that her mother would send her to the corner store, because there were probably no supermarkets in that day, with a jar to get oil. Get the oil and bring it home. And then when it was empty, she'd take the same jar back to the store and get more oil. And obviously in the early days, we were recycling because there was very little paper and things of that nature to be used for packaging. The packaging now is out of control. I can't even open some of it. That's how out of control it is. So that's what I have to say about how far we've come. Hopefully there's a lot of other good things to come.
No. One of the things that was interesting, Zachary for a while had a podcast called Not Past It, which was taking things that happened at a certain week in history and kind of talking about it and how it still has an effect. And one of the episodes that they did was from a commercial that you might remember, which was about littering. And I don't recall like what the year was, but I think it was in the 70s. And it was someone who was in a canoe, seemingly a Native American.
Oh, yeah.
right, and they were watching, and a single tear, came down his face. Anyway, so in this episode, which you could probably find, the podcast is called Not Past This. But at any rate, what that commercial was produced by the beverage people, and what they were wanting to do is they wanted to switch from, and some of us who are older will remember this, but they wanted to switch from returnable, like soda bottles. If you remember Coke bottles, you used to put the empty ones in some kind of wooden container, and they would wash them and refill them. Well, they wanted to move into aluminum cans. So, but they did not want to have to be responsible for collecting them. So what they did is this whole like littering campaign, so that it put the onus on the consumer to make sure that they responsibly dealt with the waste. And it was very successful because they got out of all responsibility in terms of having to collect the cans that they were then producing, as opposed to the reusable glass bottles. So it was, and oh, by the way, the man wasn't a Native American, and the tear wasn't real. So
yeah, the actor was a man who went by the stage name of Iron Eyes Cody, but I don't know his real name.
Mm-hmm. So, corporate irresponsibility is a real is a real factor, I think, in where we are. The River Reporter just produced this past week a sustainability section, and I wrote the introduction talking about a circular economy, which is the fact that now we want to be thinking about, when we're developing new products, we want to be thinking about what this product is going to become after its first life is over. So it's a cradle to cradle kind of a cradle to cradle program. And actually the EU has legislated that 60% of what they're producing must be part of that circular economy, where it keeps on getting used and used and used until finally, it can't be used anymore. But they want to be at 60% in 2025. So other nations are much further along than the United States. But actually, if you look at cardboard boxes, they're really changing in that they're being constructed in a way that they are, kind of tabbed as opposed to glued or taped. So, I mean, we're making progress, but it's a tough slog.
I know that the house that I live in here in Easton, there's a very big hill behind the house, and up on the hill, I call it my High Line, was a railroad. And the railroad doesn't exist, but the nice flat land does. And then beyond that is another huge hill that goes up a huge, another street that goes up. And it's very kind of convenient for a lot of people to get lost up there with their debris. And for some reason, getting rid of tires is a real problem for people, because no one takes them unless you pay, a tipping fee. So they dump them down here. And of course, I go to the local people and say, that people are still dumping, not only tires, but tires are especially difficult to get rid of. But there is across the river from the house, a place that takes tires that costs $3 a tire. Tom and I have taken tires over and paid the $3 per tire that we collected from somebody else who threw them down there. And they do recycle them, and they are used for playgrounds, and I think even to make new roads. I don't know how they quite use them, but there are businesses that are using, products, and we just have to hope that it makes it makes it financially viable for other people to make it, make that happen. Because if they can't make money, and they're probably not going to do it. I don't know how, unless the government begins to pay people, or give people tax breaks for doing such a thing. Something has to happen along that line because, money talks. So that's what happens there. I, for one, I don't throw anything away. I find some way to use it, but I'm ridiculous and everybody thinks I am. So I'll agree with them, but I just can't stand waste. I mean, I will do anything not to waste something, but that's not everybody's thing. So that's that. I just wanted to say that this little child's prayer talks about the gratitude of blessings from the planet. If anyone had any idea about what they think the planet has blessed them with, that would be nice to hear also.
Jill and I went yesterday along with Steve and a bunch of others in Tustin, and a few days earlier, Milanville, picking up trash. And Lori, I was struck by what you were saying. It reminded me of thoughts that I've had about how hopeless it seems on our present track. If we as a society don't make changes at a macro level, that walking around picking up litter every year is not going to lead us anywhere. But in the meantime, we have to do it. I know that there's what is being heralded as a better bottle bill pending in Albany, and I know that we can count on Eileen Gunther to do her best to push that through. Unfortunately, she's leaving, so the best that we can hope for on that particular legislation is that it passes this session, both houses, and gets signed by the government. But over in Milanville, where we did the first litter cleanup a few days ago, there was a pile of bottles in front of the oldest house in Wayne County, which is not officially a landmark. It is, but it's privately owned. I don't know who the owners are. If I did, I wouldn't shame them, but I would be ashamed to have a pile of bottles in my yard if I lived there. And we picked up the entire entire pile of bottles, even though it was on private property. And it just seems like there's no end to it. That's all I have. And I'm sorry to that's a pessimistic note on it, but that's how I've been feeling.
Well, I just will add a little something that I think is, a little bit more hopeful. When I bought the property that I'm on the Lehigh River. The property in the front of the house is the Lehigh. There's a road there, and there's a little strip of land that goes all the way down from the Humor Park Bridge, which is a national canal park, all the way down to the last house. And there's around 10 or so houses. And people for all the years have gotten very used to using it for whatever the heck they thought. They had their campers on there. They had their broken down cars there. They had those little things you get from those zip bags that you just put your garbage in and you keep on collecting garbage until they get filled, and it could take it. So the whole strip was just disgusting. No one cleaned it. No one took care. Some people did mow it. Some people, were responsible. By and large, most people were just using it to park their cars, park their trucks, park whatever kind of broken down car they had, whatever garbage they had. It was disgusting. I bought that piece of land, and I went down and spoke to everybody and said, this is private property. It has always been private property. Well, we've used it all this time. And I said, well, that's very nice. But, and I don't mind if you on occasion need to use the car to park, you have company or something, I'll be reasonable. I'm a reasonable person. But the garbage and stuff, that's just so disrespectful to the earth and all your neighbors. Let's see if we can't do a little better. And of course, nothing happened. And so I went down again, and it continued. The broken down cars, the garbage, the parking at night. I don't know what was going on. And finally, I said, that's enough of that, because basically, um, it's a liability for me. Somebody trips, somebody falls, somebody goes, whatever. So I actually went to a lawyer, and he told me what I had to do. And I posted the property, which I didn't want to do because I wanted it to be pristine land, but that was not the way it would have to happen. I posted it and said, no, nothing going on this property. Fishing, parking, garbage, nothing. Don't do it. And they still did it. So, I sent letters to everybody that I thought were the people who were at fault, and they didn't do much about it. I went to the local police, we're a very small borough, and they really agreed that, I had already complained about the tires and the dumping, so they already knew that I was trying to make things better for all of us, not just for me, who needs all this stuff. And they have been so cooperative and so marvelous. And they go and say, listen, I'm going to give you a warning. And after that, it won't be a warning any longer. And let me tell you something, there's nothing on that strip, nothing. And it looks beautiful. And everybody remarks how great it is to ride down the road and see the river, clear and beautiful. It's amazing. So that's a very promising and hopeful thing. It took quite a bit of work and a lot of sleepless nights because they're my neighbors, and who needs to have that kind of grief? But it sometimes things can turn around in very interesting and mysterious ways. I wouldn't have imagined the police would have been that that happy, but they are, and they stop by and they say hi, and they know, and if they see me in the street, they know it's me. So obviously, some people want their neighborhoods to look better. And interestingly, now new kind of people are coming because it looks so much nicer. People are buying houses that probably never would have considered them before because it looks so terrible. So, little by little, I have been a grassroots activist all my life. I always think if you clean up your backyard, somebody else will clean up their backyard, and everybody's backyard will get to be clean. So it's a long haul, but it's promising. It is promising. And I want to thank the earth for everything it gives. I have made a sanctuary here. I invite all animals, even though they eat up everything I have and make holes that we could fall into and kill ourselves. But I just so love them all, and just I'm so thrilled to have them here on my property, and it's a delight to get up in the morning and see all the squirrels and all the birds and all the everything else, the deer, whatever, the groundhogs, whatever shows up. And even one year I had a wild duck nesting right on the property on the ground. I don't know how it found its way, but it just stayed here all, and it had 5 eggs in a nest until they became 5 little babies that I could see across the road in the river. So small little things you can do to make your life and your neighbor's life a little better. Beverly, what are you going to say for yourself?
Beverly,
You're muted. Okay, so.
You're
So-
still muted, Beverly. You're
Yeah.
muted.
press your space button.
Can't hear you.
How's that?
There you go.
Yeah, that now you were good.
I was just busy doing some other things and listening, and it was very nice to just listen.
Okay.
Yeah, did a good job. Good stories. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of stories. In fact, very shortly I'm going to finish my one building in the city, and the first event that I'm going to have is storytelling, and the storytelling event is going to be, please come and tell your story, because the more we see other people and hear other people's stories, the more comfortable they become with other people that they had made some assumptions about that are not have nothing to do with that person. I mean, there's a lot of assumptions being made about a lot of people, and I want people to come and tell their stories so we can all become a little bit more healed. And when you get that way, then you can I think you can move forward and do a lot of really good things in your community. I don't know about the world, the big world, but in your small world, I think you can make a lot of great strides. I do. That's my belief.
Mhm.
So anybody else have anything else to say? Because I can talk forever, as you well know. I'm a big talker.
Well, I just want to say that there's nothing that you said that I don't fully agree with, and that I'm one of these neurotic um, waste savers. I don't waste. I reuse until it's death. It's just I can't even give away some of the clothes that they're just rags. They're back to rags. Even that I wash rags out until the rags fall apart.
Yes.
So yeah. But one of the things that I wish that we could do as a community, I mean, is act in a way that can affect some of the shops in our community. Like, how would you impact Weiss's supermarket or Peck's in terms of, well, Peck's offers paper, but what Weiss doesn't. Weiss is all plastic, and I mean, and just in terms of what is our capacity to impact our community here? Can we go store by store and say, even in our small stores, could you tell us some ways that you are acting in a sustainable way, because we would like to support that, and then be able to promote those stores, and then be able, and I would love to see the beginnings of a little movement about this, as in terms of how we can impact the community directly in our behavior, in our conscience. But first of all, don't buy so much. Don't buy. It's just, what do we need here? It's like peanuts for the squirrels. And even that.
I think it's a great idea. I think if you had just a group of people and you don't like aggressively challenge them and just say, we're so concerned about it. What ways have you thought about it? I mean, ask them the questions instead of telling them the answers.
I know.
Because I think they may be thinking about it too, and they don't know how to go about doing it either, because some of the stuff just gets delivered in that fashion, and how they'd have to go up the ladder. If you go to them, then they may go to the manufacturer that they're buying. I mean, it has to go wherever it's coming from, ultimately. So if they're buying from somebody, purchasing something, maybe they could have an impact once you say it would be important for the community. Because in the end, the community you're paying taxes to get rid of all that garbage. Because where's it going?
I heard something recently that made a lot of sense to me. Information without action becomes entertainment.
Oh,
That's very good.
I like that.
So we can talk blue in the face, but unless we do something, it's just, what are we doing?
Well, I like your idea of how can we help, because then it's information and possibly some sort of step toward a solution, if indeed the consumer can be a part of the helping hand. I don't know.
Well, we can certainly do it with our small businesses as we go into purchase things, and we say, listen, how are you acting in a sustainable way? Because we would like to support that. We'd like to promote that. And we could do it to the little storefronts in Narrowsburg and Callicoon and Honesdale. And I mean, these are simple things to do. Who starts it out? I can't do it. I cannot do it. I have too much. But
it has to be somebody, but here, Aldi's, you must bring your own bags at least.
Oh, of course.
Bring your own bags, but not everybody even has that. Giant doesn't have it. Even Lidl doesn't have bring your own bags. So, any small start is a good start. Anything is a start. People get used to it, they do it.
Yeah.
One of the things I have to mention is about brain freeze. Weiss Weiss is in Pennsylvania, and New York, they charge you 5 cents for each bag. In Pennsylvania, they don't. So it's a jurisdictional thing as well. It's not only marketing and recycling.
Mhm.
There's actually been a little bit of unintended consequences in terms of New York not being able to give out single-use bags. So they have to give out bags that are actually like heavier. So they're using more plastic. And so they have found that people are not reusing these bags, and actually there's more plastic use than before the single-use ban. So, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, there are some, I mean, along with what Beverly is saying, you know, there could also be organizing that. I mean, I think that the in the end, Sharon, you said it, until it is like financially, you know, in somebody's favor or to somebody's detriment, it's going to continue. I do believe that that there was a bill in New York State that was making producers responsible for really reclaiming that waste, or at least paying money, you know, if they're highly packaged. So there is a packaging law in New York State. But I also do believe that, you know, really systematically joining with organizations that are putting an amazing amount of pressure on legislators. I mean, it seems like the real change is going to come when the corporations like really are forced to use less packaging. And that, you know, in New York State, that's going to happen a little bit with this, you know, the packaging law that makes them responsible. Like I was saying, if, I mean, one of the things with the way that we have been packaging and producing product, it's like, you know, produce lots of product, use lots of, you know, waste, use lots of natural resources, factor in planned obsolescence, and then throw the stuff away. This is, I mean, it's very interesting. What was interesting to me is that is a program, right? You know, and Beverly and you too, Sharon, said, "Oh, I'm so crazy." Those weren't exactly your words, but I don't, you know, I'm out of the ordinary. I'm not the normal of throwing things away. And oh, by the way, throwing things away is not normal. So it's, you know, so the way that we constructed, I just thought when I found that circular economy, I thought, oh my gosh, we're all being told that, you know, what you're supposed to be doing is buying cheap clothing and throwing it away, you know, like when it rips, and buying new stuff. And that is a program that has been like, you know, foisted onto our society. And oh, by the way, it doesn't work. There's no place, there is no way in throwing away. There's no way. So it's interesting now, you know, this circular economy is really all about convincing people that it's actually much more advantageous economically to think about how these products are not thrown away, how you can't like just factor in, you know, obsolescence. I mean, I've been outraged that, you know, water heaters last 3 years. When I go, what? It's like needs to be replaced. They go, well, you got 3 years out of it. I'm like, what?
Yes, right.
I have workmen, and they're younger than me. And I don't know if it's because I'm older, because I'm sure there's older people that are wasteful, but they are the most wasteful people I have ever seen. I just yell at them. I say, we are not buying another thing. There's no more Home Depot. And I always tell them, I said, if you want to get paid, it's going to be either you or Home Depot. So just, you know, that's it. No more Home Depot for a while. We have lots of stuff here. Let's use it. But they look at me, and you know, it's catching on, because they see after a while, if they go in the pile of wood we already have, they find it. But it's laziness. It's easier not to go through the wood pile and go to Home Depot and buy some more, which we don't need, along with lots of other things. But I do some very unorthodox things with, and one of the reasons I have so much stuff is because everybody knows that I will find some way to use it. So everybody brings me all their garbage, all their old clothes, their old everything. not to mention what I pick up off the street. So I'm full up, but I like that. You see, I get a big kick out of it. So it's not a problem for me, but so I realize some people just don't have that kind of thing set in, but it could be taught. It could be taught that, and it's very gratifying to know that you've done your part at least. If it is gratifying to some people, it is a nice thing to think that you have helped in some way, made some small effort.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Tamara. I'm so happy to have found you guys.
Morning.
Good morning. Just
Hi.
listening, the obsolescence and the younger generations have been taught that, and that's just a way of life for them. And I think they're waking up. A lot of them are waking up to that. And it just amazes me since the 70s when we first really became active, that's when the planned obsolescence have come into play after this. So it's very upsetting to me, but I have to say I am so encouraged to hear of what all of you are doing in your own lives. And on this level, I think the more people that are doing this, we might, like, I sometimes feel quite isolated doing these things, but knowing that there's others out there doing that and being examples, and like Sharon, helping the guys that are working for you, learn a different way of being, is really encouraging to me, even though I know we're in dire straits, the earth as a whole. The more roots, the more groundwork around our in our own life, the more people who are doing that, the more change I think we'll see. I'm have been shocked over the years with this planned obsolescence. Yeah, 3 years on a hot water heater is ridiculous. It's like, didn't they used to last like 30 years? That's crazy. That's crazy.
I once bought a house. It was owned by I think a World War II vet. The hot water heater in the house was still working, and he put it in when he had bought the house after the war. So
Yeah,
from
see,
1940s all the way to when I
There
bought
you
it,
go.
obviously sometime in the 80s, 40 years.
that's more like it.
And I was being convinced that I should get rid of it. And I'm saying, why am I getting rid of it? It's still working. But this is what goes on. But the thing is the more people that begin to become educated and do it, the more normal it will seem. There are a
Yeah.
lot of things. There are a lot of things that seem very, far-fetched that we now take it for granted. It's an educational thing.
Definitely.
I think the more people who do it, the more normal it become. I realize that it's.
Can I say something on this? Can I say? So it's the doing that is the issue here. It's not about how much we know, it's what we do. Okay. So a while back, I had introduced to the network, the Upper Delaware Community Network, which now has over 1,300 subscribers. I had introduced something called ACT, Acting Consciously Together. And so that anytime you did something that you made a conscious choice, whether it's what to buy or not buy, or where you contribute or whatever, anytime you made an acted conscious choice, post it on the network so that your neighbors and friends can see what you're doing and we can learn from and teach each other. Well, it lasted for a little while and then it just petered out. I would like to introduce that again, and I'd like to invite people like yourselves to post on it. What you are doing, the story that you told. This is what acting consciously together. That it's so important that we do that in any way, but certainly environmental, because that has to do with our personal behavior, how we are acting.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, good. I'll introduce it again.
Sharon.
I will do that again on the next. introduce it. I'll introduce it again. Yeah.
I missed that, Beverly. So I think that's a wonderful way to use the network. Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I'm gonna write it down now. New list.
Does anyone else have anything else that we would like to add to our conversation? I thank you all so much. I've enjoyed it very much, hearing all the wonderful ideas. I'm an idea person, so I won't even bother adding all my crazy ideas. They are crazy, but everybody gets onto them when they see the final result. So it all works out. If no one else has anything to add, it will be time for us to extinguish the chalice. But I don't know if Tom, do you think we can get on? I had gone to listen. I went to online, and it's the Unitarian Universalist Society of Grafton and Upton, Massachusetts, has some. They have written one of their members have written a chalice extinguishing song that everybody can sing, and it's written if Tom can figure out how to get it on. If he can get it on, we can all sing and say goodbye that way as we extinguish a chalice. If not, I will just read the chalice extinguishing. So Tom, do you think we can get that YouTube up?
Sorry about that.
It's kind of
It's appropriate.
Apologies for the
no, we out, if you get it up, we out here can't see that if it's on the screen somehow.
Not yet. He's finding it.
Okay, good. If it becomes a problem, well, then I'll just read what I have to say.
Well, I actually have a reading I could read while he tries to find it. So this is from the UN Environmental Sabbath Program, and it's kind of a litany. So and the refrain is, we join with the earth and with each other. We join with the earth and with each other to bring new life to the land, to restore the waters, to refresh the air. We join with the earth and each other to renew the forests, to care for the plants, to protect the creatures. We join with the earth and with each other to celebrate the seas, to rejoice in the sunlight, to sing the songs of the stars. We join with the earth and each other to recreate the human community, to promote justice and peace, to remember our children. We join with the earth and with each other. We join together as many and diverse expressions of one loving mystery for the healing of the earth and the renewal of all life.
Thanks, Laurie. It's nice. So does it look like we're not going to see it? Because if we're not, I'll just close off with our extinguishing.
I've done that.
What do you say?
Go ahead.
Okay. The flame is extinguished, but not our hope for the future, our courage in the face of crisis, or the love we share in all the world. And with that, I invite everyone that's there to refreshments. I'm assuming we have some refreshments there. So sorry that I can't join you or even bake for you, because that's my favorite thing to do, getting rid of stuff in my house. People say, oh, you bake all the time. I says, yeah, I got a lot of stuff to get rid of. So that's one more thing I do to get rid of stuff, but I'm not there to do that anymore. So I won't foist my old cookies and stuff on you anymore. All right, guys, great being with you. Have a wonderful week. And I'm signing off. I have to go to the Democrats right now and do some canvassing.
Okay.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Bye.